Book of Heaven Volume 4 by the Servant of God Luisa Piccarreta, Little Daughter of the Divine Will. Year 1900, page 11–15. September 21, 1900. The Power of Obedience. Obedience must be everything for her. Who can tell my affliction in being deprived of my dearest friend, suffering? I admired, yes, the prodigious empire of holy obedience, as well as the virtue which the Lord had communicated to the confessor who, by obedience and by signing me, had freed me of a malady which I considered grave, and which was enough to undo my body. But in spite of this, I could not help feeling the pain of being deprived of a suffering so good, which moved blessed Jesus to pity and compassion, in such a way that I could make him come almost continuously. So, when our Lord came, I lamented to him, saying, "My beloved good, what have you done to me? You had me freed by the confessor, and so I have lost the hope of leaving the earth for now. Besides, why make so many stratagems, putting Father in the middle, when you could have freed me yourself? Ah, maybe you did not want to grieve me directly, did you?" And he, "Ah, my daughter, how quickly you have forgotten that obedience was everything to me, and I want obedience to be everything for you. Besides, I put Father in the middle, so that you would have regard for him as for my very person." Having said this, he disappeared, leaving me all embittered. How many things can Lady Obedience come up with? One has to know her and have to deal with her for a long time, not a short one, to truly be able to tell who she is. Brava, brava, Lady Obedience. The more one goes on, the more you make yourself known. As for myself, to tell the truth, I admire you, and I am even forced to love you, but I cannot help feeling huffy with you, especially when you come up with one of your big ones. Therefore I beg you, O dear Obedience, to be more indulgent in letting me suffer. September 22, 1900. As many times as she disposes herself to make the sacrifice of death, so many times does Jesus give her the merit as if she were truly dying. As I was all oppressed and afflicted, upon coming, my adorable Jesus told me, "My daughter, why do you remain all immersed in your affliction?" And I, "Ah, my beloved, how can I not be afflicted since you do not want to take me with you yet, and you leave me on this earth still?" And he, "Ah, no, I do not want you to breathe this sad air of yours, because everything I have placed inside and outside of you is all holy, so much so, that if something or someone draws near you who is not upright and holy, you feel bother, immediately detecting the opposite stench of that which is not holy. Now, why would you want to shade what I have placed inside of you with this air of sadness? Know, however, that as many times as you dispose yourself to make the sacrifice of death, so many times do I give you the merit as if you were truly dying. This must be of great consolation for you, more so, since you conform to me more, as my life was a continuous dying. And I, ah, Lord, it does not seem to me that death is a sacrifice. On the contrary, it seems to me that life is sacrifice. And as I wanted to say more, he disappeared. September 29, 1900. The victim souls are supports and props for Jesus. I went through several days of silence between Jesus and me, and with scarce suffering. At the most, it seems he wanted to continue tempting me, to make me exercise a little bit more patience, and here is how. On coming, he would say, "My beloved, I long for you from heaven. In heaven I wait for you." And he would escape like a flash. Then, coming back, he would repeat, "Cease your ardent sighs now, for you make me languish continuously, to the point of fainting." Other times, "Your ardent love, your yearnings, are refreshment for my sad heart." But who can say them all? It seemed to me that he was feeling like composing verses, and sometimes he would express these verses by singing them. However, without giving me the time to say a word, he would escape immediately. Then, this morning, as the confessor placed the intention of having me suffer the crucifixion, I saw the Queen Mama crying and almost contending with Jesus in order to spare the world so many scourges. But he showed himself reluctant, and only to content Mama, he concurred in making me suffer. Then, afterwards, as if he had placated himself a little, he said, "My daughter, it is true that I want to chastise the world. I have the lashes in my hands with which to beat it. But it is also true that if both you and the confessor interest yourself with praying me and with suffering, that is always a support, and you would come to place as many props in order to spare the world, in part at least. Otherwise, not finding any support or props, I will pour myself out with a free hand over the people." Having said this, he disappeared. September 30, 1900. Jesus asks her to console his afflicted mama. "This morning my most sweet Jesus was not coming, and I had to have much patience in waiting for him. I even reached the point of trying to go out of my usual state, for I felt no more strength to continue it. He was not coming, suffering seemed to have fled from me. I felt my senses within myself. There was nothing left but to add an effort to go out. But while I was doing this, blessed Jesus came, and forming a circle with his arms, he took my head in the middle. At that touch, I no longer felt myself within myself, and I saw our Lord very indignant with the world. As I wanted to placate him, he said to me, 'Do not want to occupy yourself with me for now, but I pray you to occupy yourself with my mama. Console her, for she is very afflicted because of the heavier chastisements I am about to pour upon the earth.'" Who can say how afflicted I remained? October 2, 1900. State of victim for Italy and for Corrado. Fearing that my state was no longer will of God, as blessed Jesus came, I said, "How I fear that my state is no longer your will, because I see that I lack the two main things that kept me bound, suffering and your presence." And he, "My daughter, it is not that I no longer want to keep you in this state, but since I want to chastise the world, this is why I am not coming and I make you lack suffering." And I, "Why remain in this state then?" And he, "Your position of victim and your continuous waiting for me already break my arms. In fact, you do not see me, but I see you very well, and I count all your sighs, your pains, your desires for me. And your being all intent on me is always an act of reparation for many who do not bother about me, nor desire me, but despise me and are all intent on earthly things, covered with mud, amid the stench of vices. So, being the complete opposite of theirs, your state always comes to break justice. So much so, that keeping you in this state and beginning the bloody wars in Italy is almost impossible for me. And I, Lord, to remain in this state without suffering is almost impossible for me. I feel my strengths fail me, because the strength to remain in this state comes to me from the sufferings. So, since these are lacking, some day, when you are not coming, I will try to go out. I am telling you this before, so you won't be displeased." And he, yes, you will go out of this state when I begin the slaughter in Italy, then I will suspend it completely." While saying this, he showed the fiercest wars which are to happen, both among the secular and against the Church. The blood inundated the towns like when there is a pouring rain. My poor heart writhed for the pain in seeing this, and remembering about my own town, I said, Lord, in saying that you will suspend me completely, you make me understand that not even for poor Corrado will you have compassion. Not even Corrado will you spare? And he, "If sins reach a certain number, such that they will not deserve to have victim souls, and those who keep you as victim do not interest themselves, I will have no regard for her," that is, for Corrado. Having said this, he disappeared, and I remained all oppressed and afflicted.